Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir and today is another Saturday live that we do to give you a weekly roundup of what's going on in the field of Canadian immigration, news, updates, processes, etc, etc, etc. I am an ICCRC licensed immigration consultant, so technically I can give you immigration advice, of course. But today what we're going to be doing is obviously go through the roundup as we normally do. And then we will go through different news articles that have been coming up and basically discuss that. And then obviously then we will open the floor for questions. At that point of time, I request you that you can then post your questions. If you post your questions now, the chances I'm going to miss them, and then you might not be very happy to see that your question was missed. So hold your questions back till the question and answer segment. And at that point of time, we will probably then go ahead and then take the questions. So without further ado, oh boy, something's not going on right with me. No matter what I do, okay, all right, perfect. I've got it here now. Quote of the week, as we normally start: whatever you do, always give it 100%. Unless, of course, you are donating blood. This is said by the famous Bill Murray. And obviously, I mean, whatever you do, put your efforts in, whatever you try to do, whatever is your dream, whatever is your goal, whatever is your objective, do give it your 100%. But, always be mindful if you're giving your blood or donating your blood. That might not be a good idea then. This is our Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Today is Saturday, 23rd of October. And we will round up whatever has happened in the past week and obviously take some news and articles and discuss those as well. In today's discussion, we'll be talking about the PNPs. Normally, that's what we do. And then other news, we don't have any draw from Express Entry, so obviously, but we will obviously be speaking about that as well. Starting up, first one is British Columbia, which is always there in most of our weekly roundups. And this one states that on the 20th of October, 3 days back, 85 tech workers were invited for the PNP. So this was under the tech draw that BC PNP has. For people who do not know, that most of the British Columbia programs need you to have a job offer. So if you don't have a job offer, it's going to be pretty... There is actually a program in British Columbia which does not need a job offer, and that is under their... I think it's called the International Graduate Stream. I'll have to check that up again as to what it is called. But if you have completed a master's degree program under one of their streams that they have indicated, I think there's 7 or 8 streams, then you possibly will be able to apply directly for the PNP under the British Columbia. The ever hopeful that I am, Ontario continues to be one of the biggest provinces that will give you those draws, and here again 546 candidates were invited to apply for this particular stream that invited people, and this was the master's and PhD graduate streams. A lot of people get confused with this stream. In this stream, if you want to be eligible, you first will have to create your expression of interest on the Ontario portal. That is the most important requirement. And number 2, you will need to have completed at least your master's degree or your PhD program within the last 3 years. And that is when you will be eligible to apply. Of course, you also need to be working, and those are some other criteria as well. But the main criteria is that you should have completed your master's or PhD from Ontario or one of the colleges in Ontario, and the list of colleges is also mentioned on the Ontario website, and then you will be eligible to apply for this particular stream. But it's a good one. Earlier, when there was no expression of interest, people used to really struggle because this was then first come first serve kind of a thing. But now it's pretty cool with the fact that you get invited up front. I mean, obviously you have to create your expression of interest. With Manitoba, again, 459 candidates were were invited, and they invited people under the skilled workers in Manitoba, skilled worker overseas, and also under the Express Entry stream. So basically, overall, the program invited most of the candidates in all streams. The scores have been pretty high. And again, with Manitoba, one of the biggest requirement is that you should have connection to the province. If you don't have connection to the province, and by connection, I mean And by connection, I mean that you should have past work experience, you should have some sort of work experience, education, relative, friend. Those will then make you have, or rather make you eligible to apply for the Manitoba PNP. If you don't have that, then unfortunately you will not be able to apply. It's sad, but that's how it is. Because provinces like Manitoba, or there are several other provinces as well, they have identified that one way of making sure that people do not abuse the system of that PNPs invite you, you come to Canada, you migrate to Canada, you start living in the province, and then very quickly you run away. So the whole premise of the provincial nominee program is that you will make that province your home. That is what you express as your intention within your application. But by and large, it has been noticed that people use that as a door, or rather doorway, to come to Canada. And once they get there, then they try and, or rather, in most cases, they will flock to the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, sometimes Vancouver, Toronto being the most popular destinations. And in this manner, the province loses out. So provinces like Manitoba, provinces like Saskatchewan, they've all figured out different ways where they can give you advantage, or they basically will sort of give you this connection. If you have this connection, you're eligible, and therefore they have over a period of time realized the retention rate for the province under these conditions is much higher versus when they don't really have any sort of ties to the province. So that's the reason why Manitoba chooses to go this particular way. And then the next one that I have is Prince Edward Islands. Prince Edward Islands also conducted their draw this week, and they have invited 204 candidates. It's a pretty big draw for Prince Edward's, considering it's the smallest province in Canada. And they also have the smallest number of quota. I mean, so it's obvious, because the quotas are allotted based on the demographic analysis, and based on that, Prince Edward Islands has the smallest quota, and they have invited 195 people or candidates from the express entry and labor market impact streams. Only 9 were invited from the business impact streams, and then they've had so far 10 draws this year. Total number of invitations they have issued is 1,541, which is pretty good. The next draw is expected to be on the 18th of November. They usually hold a monthly draw, so the next one is expected to be on the 18th of November. And but one thing I would like to talk about here, as far as the Prince Edward Islands is concerned. Now, mind you, this is one province which basically lot of agents, lot of these so-called agents, so-called consultants who are sitting in lots of countries out there, they use Prince Edward Islands as sort of a bait, not exactly a bait, but they sort of lure a lot of people in by signing up for their services, by saying that they will apply for you under the Prince Edward Island program. Because a lot of people fall into that trap. They see that the scores are low, they see that so many people were invited, but they don't really understand that Prince Edward Islands, though it doesn't say anywhere that they will only invite people from inside the province, they usually only invite people inside the province. People from outside the province, people from outside Canada are not usually invited by Prince Edward Islands, because obviously it's a small province. They want to give that benefit to people who have already establish their life in the province. They want to give them a pathway. They want to sort of acknowledge the fact that they have already chosen to make PEI their home, and therefore that benefit. But as I said, the agents, when you would go up to them and they say, am I eligible? They will say, yes, of course you're eligible, and don't worry, we will lodge your, I don't know this word lodge, why is this word lodge used by them? But anyways, this is a very common and a popular term used, especially I think in Indian subcontinent. And they'll say, we will lodge your file in Ontario, we will lodge your file in Prince Edward Islands, and therefore you will get through into the PNP program. But don't fall into the trap. Always do your due diligence. Check the provincial nominee program website. The websites are very, very clear. The criteria are clear. The streams are clear. The programs are clear. And always refer back to different colleagues, friends, relatives, other people on social media networks to understand if anybody else got invited. And only then go and pay their fee if you have to. Also, obviously, deal only with licensed individuals, licensed practitioners. Otherwise, you always have a problem of falling into the trap with the wrong people, and therefore, then not having any recourse from them. That was the Prince Edward Islands. what do we have? We have some other news. Okay, let's see. In other news, we have Ontario changes or have made changes to help immigrants work in their field. Now, what this basically means is that Canada is notorious for having their own licensing requirements, their own certification requirement for most trades, for most occupations, or actually for a lot of occupations and trades. Therefore, provinces like Ontario have identified that, realized that, understood that, and have said basically, okay, we will try and make it easier for new immigrants who come to Canada who have certain experience, who have certain licensing certification from back home to now be eligible to work in Canada. And one of the requirements, I think, is that for most of this certification is that people should have Canadian work experience in doing that particular occupation, which is now basically being waived off. This still has to be formulated. This will see some more changes come in, but this is a welcome change, which basically means that even if you have work experience back home in a specific trade, specific occupation, you have the license, you have the certification, you will be able to get it evaluated and assessed and get a equivalent Canadian license or certification for the same trade, which will then make you eligible to start working in that occupation, that trade, therefore, paving the way for your successful resettlement in Canada. And that's a welcome change. I mean, any day. What else is there? Okay, though this is not news, but a lot of people still don't know about it, so we will talk about this one more time. Actually, we've made a full detailed video on this, so if you haven't watched that video, please go and check that out. Canada has introduced NOC 2021. NOC 2021 basically is the moniker with the fact that NOC codes or NOC database is evaluated after every 10 years. So the last one was done in 2011. That is when a lot of changes were made. Then again, after 5 years in 2016, some minor changes were made. So whenever you check the NOC database, it is usually checked based on the fact of which year that version was used. So right now what we are using, what we usually check for our NOCs is the NOC 2016 version. And once the 2021 version comes into place, we will be obviously using NOC 2021. So the difference, the big difference that has come in this is that right now the NOC that we use is basically 0A, B, C, D. That is the skill type. NOC 0 being the management levels, NOC A being the professional levels, NOC B being the skill categories, C and D are more or less occupations which do not require a university or a college degree, but primarily require a high school. And in NOC D, you don't even need a high school degree. It basically talks about the entry-level job. So that is how the classifications have been made, and this will change, and this moniker will change to tier, T-E-E-R. I forgot what it stands for, but basically is education, experience, and what was it? I forget about it. Anyways, so it basically will be tier, T-E-E-R, and it will change to tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, of course, there is also 0. So based on that, there is a segregation of the skill types, and the biggest difference will be on NOC skill type B, which is right now B. It will be further split into tier 2 and tier 3, and that is where the changes will come. We don't really know at this point of time what the difference is going to be within the immigration processes. Yes, there is a lot of assumptions. Yes, there is a lot of talk. Yes, there is a lot of speculation about it. But at this point of time, nobody knows because it hasn't been identified. Mind you, as and when it will be put in effect, there will be plenty of information and notice available, because in order to bring this tier level into play, they will have to make changes to the immigration law where the specific skill types have been identified. So that verbiage will have to be changed as well. So therefore, there will be a lot of information that is, and there will be a lot of notifications that will come. So don't worry about it just yet. Just hold your horses before you start stressing out, especially if you're in the NOC skill type level B, because that is where the split changes will happen into tier 2 and tier 3. So at this point of time, you should just be aware that there will be changes forthcoming, especially to do with the NOC. And but as and when they will happen, obviously we'll be here to tell you. At this point of time, no, nothing. Don't worry too much about it. Okay. What else have we got? Well, that's it for the weekly roundup. I do have some other things that I want to discuss about, but if you want to connect with us, please, on social media, we are there on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, of course. And if you're not following us on Instagram, then that is the link. You should please do follow us on Instagram, because we're there talking about a lot of things all the time. And of course, you must subscribe to this channel. That's the button there. Click on it. Make sure you're subscribed. Click on that bell notification so that you get any updates that we post for new videos. Also, and I would want to say that, because I mean, I don't have a problem saying it. Smash the like button, smash that thumbs up button. And the reason for that is not that I have a problem getting more views. I mean, that those are always welcome. And no, more views technically does mean more money, but the money here is trust me, it's not even worth talking about. But what does those thumbs up do is that, based on the fact that there is more engagement, there is more likability of the video, it sort of spreads out to more people who may also benefit. So by doing that thumbs up, you obviously, make sure that the video is liked, but that also means that more people will be able to watch it. So you're helping them get the access to this video, if at all that would be of any use to them. So subscribe to the channel, click on that thumbs up, and let's move on. And the things that I want to talk to you about is, let me first get rid of this. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm using a different system today, and that's the reason I was a bit late starting up today. And I want to talk to you about a few articles. And the first one is, let's start with this one. Okay, there you go. Let me make this a bit bigger. Sorry guys, I mean, as I said, I'm using a bit different system today, so it's not very fluid. Anyways, let's get on with this one. So this one was on the Globe and Mail, and this one was published yesterday. Okay, and this speaks about the fact that Canada will achieve, or rather Marco Mendicino has said that they will be achieving this year's target, which is for 401,000 new permanent residents. And this is what basically it says. We are in the home stretch. Immigration Minister Marco Mendicino told me our goal of landing 401,000 new permanent residents in 2021 is well within the sights. Well, I'm glad that they will be able to achieve this target, because last year they couldn't even get to the 50% mark. And what else in this article is it that I want to talk to you about? Okay, Liberal government remains committed to setting the new immigration records every year. So what we will be also seeing is, and this is what I want to talk to you about, is, okay, let me just show you what that is. And all right, here. I'm not sure how clear the screen is. Okay, Mr. Mendicino may or may not remain an immigration minister after the new cabinet is sworn on the 26th of October. He and his other departments have struggled to extricate Canadians and those who had served Canada when the Taliban swept to power in Afghanistan in August. That's what the article is talking about. But I want to draw the attention towards the fact that cabinet is going to be sworn in on the 26th of October. And why is that important? Well, the reason why that is important is because Marco Mendicino may or may not be the new immigration minister. As you all know, that a lot of things have been on the back burner at this point of time. Express Entry did not have any draws. When I'm saying did not have any draws, I'm not referring to the PNP. I hardly consider the PNP as draw anymore. I mean, because that is something which they need to keep pumping out, because they don't want to keep any of those pending. Because they have agreement, federal has an agreement with the provincial governments that they will obviously need to comply with that. So those PNP draws will continue. They have to continue. What I'm talking about is the draws. We haven't seen any federal skilled worker draws since the 23rd of December 2020, which is now effectively 10 months. Ridiculous, but 10 months. And we also now haven't seen any CEC draws since quite some time. I think it's it was mid of September that we last saw the CEC draw. So that is now also running into almost 40 days timeline, which is also pretty big. Now, the assumption as we all like to do all the time, is that, I mean, we love making assumptions, right? Because that is what we sort of enjoy doing. So the assumption is that come 26th of October, once they have identified, or rather once they have announced, I'm sure they've already identified, I'm sure whoever is drawing up the cabinet list already knows who's going to be the immigration minister, and I'm sure that person would have already been spoken to with regards to what that person's portfolio is. We don't know about it yet. It's still 3 more days to go. But the assumption is that once that person has been made public or has been identified, we should start seeing some movement in terms of what the hell is going on with regards to the express entry draws, at least, because I'm only hoping whoever that person is, whether it is Venticino, whether it's a new guy, whoever a new girl, whoever the new kid on the block would be, I just hope that that person is a little more compassionate, little bit more aware of the issue that this is causing to thousands and thousands of people out there. I mean, it's sad the way this whole system or this program is being managed. I can absolutely empathize with the fact of the Afghans needing the care at this point of time. Absolutely, there is no argument, there is no debate on that aspect. But what about thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of other people who have invested time, effort, money, they've sort of pinned their hopes and dreams with this whole goal and objective of express entry? I mean, what about them, right? I mean, it doesn't seem fair at this point of time of what's going on there. So I'm just hoping, and I'm just fingers crossed, and I'm praying that there is communication. That's all I'm asking for. Communication. I'm not saying that conduct a draw. You don't want to conduct a draw, you have a different plan. Fine, that's all right. Come out and tell people in the open that you have a different plan, so that people are not stuck. As of right now, with the excuse of COVID, which basically is, I mean, I don't think that excuse exists anymore, because Ontario has already announced that we are going, absolutely fine. So there are the least of restrictions are also going to be lifted come Monday. The only restrictions that remain is basically of some vaccinations for certain events and masking, which also is possibly going to be removed come March next year. So that's the only restrictions that remain of any interest. Other than that, everything else has been removed come Monday. So there is no limitations on anything, whether you are out, you're in, or any events, any restaurants, and anything. So it's basically back to normal with the regular stuff. With all this happening, there is no more excuse to sort of say, because of COVID, the offices are not working, because of COVID, we are not working, because of COVID, this is not happening, that is not happening. That excuse has stopped being relevant long time back. So what is the reason that you are not conducting the draws? What is the reason why passport requests are not being issued for so many people who have been waiting? You want to achieve the targets. Great, excellent. And one of the things that we saw on that memo that was obtained by one of the media channels, which was dated on the 6th of June, where they have indicated that they have moved a lot of resources from different sections into handling CEC application processing or TR to PR application processing, so that these could be expedited, so these could be processed faster, so that they can meet their target, their objective for bringing the permanent residents or finalizing them for this particular year, the quota. Okay, it's all about the quota. They have to meet the quota kind of a thing. If they would have issued the passport requests to thousands of people who have been waiting out there, wouldn't that have also helped? And all they have to do now at this point of time is release the damn passport requests. It has been holding so many people back. It is holding their lives back. It is holding their 2019. A lot of people are waiting from 2019, 2020. Everything is back on hold. So sorry about the rant, but all I'm trying to say is that whoever is the new guy or the girl, I just hope that this person is a bit more mindful and comes out and talks to people in the open and gives them a clear or explains the clear mandate, or talks about the fact as to what is happening with the draws. If it's happening, not happening, fine. What's happening with the passport request? Happening, not happening, fine. And what are they doing about it? Yes, once the the cabinet is sworn in on the 26th of October. Within a month, they would be having their first parliamentary meet. And at some point of time, they have to come back and talk, or rather table the new immigration plan with the parliament. And I'm hoping that would happen sometime in the month of November, because end of October is too soon for it to happen. So come November, they will be disclosing, or rather they will be publishing the new plan, which I expect would be higher than what is for 2024. It's 421,000. I expect that to go up, obviously, by another 6 to 8%. So you're looking at probably 430s kind of a thing. All that is good. All that is fine. What is the plan in the short term is what I'm more interested at this point of time. So while there, I can see a lot of questions, what people are asking for, when will be the next draw happening? What is the next CEC? Guess I don't know. I don't know when the next FSW draw will happen. I don't know when the next CEC draw will happen. I honestly don't know. And the reason is because nobody is giving out any clear, information, update that should come basically from IRCC. So at this point of time, yes, there is a lot of assumption. One more thing is that IRCC did state and promise that, promise is a big word nowadays. I mean, I don't believe in promises, but yes, they did state that they will try and clear out maximum expired COPR holders by the 31st of October, or at least what they meant is that they would communicate with all the expired 31st, what am I saying? By 31st of October, they would clear out all the expired COPR or the communication with them. Thankfully, that has been happening. So at least there is something that they are going ahead as far as what they have said. So I've seen a lot of movement in terms of people who have been getting communication from people from IRCC saying when about their ultimatum email. So these are the people who have their expired COPRs. Hopefully they will get processed sooner. And at the same time, there has been a lot of movement in terms of people getting their passport requests. But these have been largely people who had PNPs, any PNP. I haven't seen a lot of federal skilled worker outlanders getting their passport requests. There have been a few, but not the kind of numbers we would have liked to see. Yes, we still have 2 more months to go for this year to end, and I'm just hoping and praying that we see a bigger chunk of those getting processed, those coming out, and people sort of having something to figure out what they want to do. I do not know if they are holding on to those numbers to sort of calculate against the target for the next year, or what exactly is going on in their minds, but that is something I would like to see in terms of clear communication coming out. That was one thing I wanted to talk to you about. And then there is another one. Okay, let's see. I can figure out another one for you. All right, this one. Oh, I don't like the picture there. Maybe it's the picture when he needed a haircut. All right, so this one is about, again, this one was on CTV News, and there was also another article of the type on Reuters as well. But for CTV News, this says, Canada may look at making more temporary migrants permanent. And this basically has reference to the TR to PR. I will post these links for these news articles in the description box after the call. I mean, after this session is over, and then you probably will be able to, read these yourself properly. But then there was another, because I don't put too much of emphasis on this one, so I will share with you a different article. Yeah, somehow this has a bit more credibility, I would say. All right, so again, this one was published on Reuters, and it says Canada will look to make more temporary migrants permanent, and I'm assuming the CTV News also picked up their the information from here. As of now, more than 14,000 of the 20,000 spots in the healthcare stream of a temporary to permanent residency program announced in April were unfilled this week ahead of the November 5 deadline. What are they talking about here? Okay. What this news article is referring to, the TR to PR pathway. A lot of you already are aware of the TR to PR pathway. This is referring to that. Here it says that Marco Mendicino was basically is what is being reported, that he has said that I think we should keep an open mind to whether or not we should extend the deadline, and This basically indicates that there is a good possibility that the deadline, which will expire on the 5th of November, may be extended, because they were looking to fill up 20,000 spots in the healthcare stream for the temporary to TR to PR program, but only as of now 6,000 spots were filled up, so 14,000 remain unfilled. And not to mention that there is no limit to the French speakers for the same stream. So if you're a French speaker, looking to apply through the same stream or the international graduate streams, there was no limit. Any number of people could have applied. But this was not for the French stream. This was for the English speaking folks, and 14,000 spots still remain. Are they going to extend this to other categories as well? Now, when I'm saying other categories, there were two other categories. One was the international graduate stream, which was, snapped up within 24-25 hours after it opened. I had thought it would close much sooner than that, but this, I had thought that would close much sooner, but it closed about 24-25 hours later. And then there was the essential workers stream. And that basically took a few, almost a month or so to fill up. So there is an expectation that they will extend this stream expiry from 5th of November, probably later. But will they extend that to some other categories of people or not as earlier? That is something which we have to wait and see. I personally don't think that might happen, but then what I think is irrelevant. What the immigration minister and IRCC think is what matters. So that is something which we need to wait and watch and see when that happens. So this is another article that I would post the link in the description box once we've ended today's session, and that is just about it. No, I'm just checking if I have anything else. No, that's it. I don't have anything else. You are most welcome to go ahead and post your comments now. Oh, there you go. See, now these are the scammers. What I have on screen now are the scammers, right? So these are the people you should avoid, and these are the kind of people you should absolutely not, pay any attention to, and they somehow find a way to come out on our streams as well. Okay, starting with another. I got UE. I do not know what UE means. On 21st of September, reply the same day. Till date has not been an update on my profile. Should I submit a web form? The thing is, somehow we all managed to create these new acronyms and new names. I think what UE, now I'm trying to think. UE stands for ultimatum email. I think that's what it means. It's not a legal term or a legal word. This is not something which IRCC would use this. So this ultimatum email is something which we have coined, and I guess that's what it means. If you have received an email and if you have responded back, then just have patience. From here on, what IRCC is probably going to do is, and what they have done technically is, they have closed the application because the COPR is expired. Now they will reopen the application. There will be reassessment of certain factors. Now when I'm saying reassessment, I'm talking about first things first is whether they will check if you need medicals. If your medicals have expired, your dependents, their medicals have expired, are they valid? And if at all they need to ask you for criminality assessment. So basically, do they need to ask you for police clearances? Do they need to send your application back to the different visa office where it was assessed? So all these different decisions will have to be made. I'm not sure who is making them. I'm not sure what kind of resources they have assigned to handle all the expired COPRs. I think they are roughly, the last number that I had in my mind was about between 15 to 20,000, probably more, I would say. But that is the number of expired COPR they are at this point of time processing. The speed at which the new PPR comes is not very fast. So you're looking at roughly 2 to 3 months from the time that you have responded back to get some sort of communication from them. I know it's a ridiculous amount of time, but hey, at least there is some movement. It is moving forward. So just let's just sort of take that and have some more patience and wait till you get it. But as long as you have received the ultimatum email, which is good, and then you have responded, which is even better. So as long as that has happened, I would say just wait it out and you will probably get there. Vishal Jagtap, thank you for the super chat. PR file is under process. Status is RFV pending. My company filed ICT work permit with address as Quebec due to client location. Will this have adverse impact on my PR application? Outland CEC. Well, I don't think it should, because it's a closed work permit. And therefore there should not be any issue at this point of time. However, if at all there is an issue with this, they would normally, under the normal circumstances, reach out to you, probably send you a PFL, procedural fairness letter. But if your application has met the eligibility requirements, has already been assessed, you're saying it is RFV pending, ready for visa pending, then I don't think you will have an issue with that. In most cases, something like that would not get impacted. Yes, of course, if they were processing your work permit, they would also identify that you have a PR application in process. So therefore, if one visa officer has to talk to another visa officer and say, listen, hey dude, this guy is applying under the CEC and should be outside Quebec. Here it is. There is some document which says that he may be intending to live in Quebec. Check this out. So if that happens and that communication happens, which to be very honest, I doubt will happen in this case. But if that happens, you should receive a communication from IRCC clarifying, explaining, giving them additional proof to sort of state that you do not intend to live in Quebec. But it should not be an issue. Okay, Ajobi says, I'm sorry, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Adaobi. Okay. I entered the pool and indicated that I won't be coming with my husband if I'm selected in the next FSW draw, whenever that is. Can I change my mind and include my husband without affecting my score? Do you really want to change your mind? I mean, do you really want to bring a nag with you? Do you? I'm just kidding. Yes, of course you can. Absolutely, at any point of time. No offense there. I was just sort of, lighting it up. Yeah, you can make changes to your express entry profile at any point of time, any number of times. There is no issues. Even after you receive your ITA, you can still make changes to your express entry profile, no problem. However, once you receive the ITA, any changes you make, you have to be more mindful of that, what kind of changes they are. Is it impacting your score? Is it really, really very different than what you had disclosed earlier? So post ITA, the changes you make are they could sort of have an impact. So you have to be mindful of what kind of changes you're making, but you can make changes at any point of time in your express entry profile. There is no issue whatsoever. Okay, Muhammad says, my wife is on study permit and I am on spousal open work permit. After 1 year, can I apply under CEC or PNP as primary applicant, as my wife as spouse applicant? Yes, absolutely. There is no problem. You see, what will happen is, once you have the eligible work experience, Canadian work experience, you will become the primary applicant for your PR application. So there is no problem with that. I think you're confusing with the latest information or the update which had to do with the primary applicant for the open work permit applications. There, the primary applicant has to be the person who first came to Canada, based on whom the next work permit was issued. So don't confuse it with that. If you have come to Canada on an open work permit, because your spouse is already in Canada, you gain work experience in Canada, and you can then absolutely go ahead and submit an application. You will absolutely be able to create an express entry profile with yourself as the primary applicant. There is no problem with that. Jot Singh says, I am perplexed. Please let me know for re-medical. Should I wait for IRCC letter, or can I book for re-medical with physician without any letter? Well, I've actually done a short video on that. If you want, you can take a look. It is more detailed, but it's entirely up to you. I would usually say hold back, but I know right now it's just too difficult for people to hold back. They want to see any kind of movement, even if that movement is initiated by them. So they would like to go and do the medicals. It's up to you, because it can be expensive, especially if it's a family of 2, 3, 4. That can all add up. One person spending 6,000 Indian rupees, if that is where you are right now. So the decision is yours. It is not a problem. If you wish to do your medicals again, you can. But I would ideally ask you to wait, because a lot of medical centers are not accepting upfront medicals anymore. They are asking you to get the IMM 1017B form, which has an IME number, and that is what they are asking for. and in that case you may have to wait. But if a medical center is willing to do an upfront medical for you, and if you think your medicals have already expired, by all means go ahead and do it, because keep in mind, in a lot of cases you may be eligible to get an extension on your medicals, and IRCC is the only one who's going to decide that. So the decision is yours, and there is no harm in doing it per se, but I mean, you may just be doing it and you won't get any benefit out of it, probably because IRCC will extend it anyways. So the decision is yours. It doesn't really matter. If you can do it up front, by all means go ahead and do it. Oh, we did this, sorry. Shiva says, how long does the process of getting a work permit approved for and then getting a visa in NYC? I have a letter of support from Alberta. I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of then get a visa in New York City. I have a letter of support from Alberta. I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand the question. If you're saying that you have a letter of support, letter of endorsement for your work permit from Alberta, and how long will the processing of that work permit take? Well, from New York, I am not keeping a tab on their timelines as such, but you can check the CIC website on the processing times of work permit from that particular visa office and see how long it's going to take. 3 years of paid full articleship work experience under NOC 1111 reference letter avail. Can I claim 3 or more years in CRS? Well, if you have 3 years of articleship, paid articleship, you can most definitely claim that work experience under NOC 1111. Obviously, you will have to be able to prove that you were paid and that you did indeed, you were working for this period of time. Yes, absolutely, you can claim that points. Sneha says, can you explain the concept of dual intent? Also, in case we have an active EE profile, would it be a risk to apply for student visa? What should a strong SOP look like for such a case? Well, that's a lot of questions in one question. All of these I have answered. So that is the reason why I say, subscribe to the channel, hit on the bell icon so that obviously you can see the content. But yes, I'm not going to talk too much in detail as of now, but I have made videos. If you will just scroll through this channel and look for dual intent, you will be able to see dual intent. If you look to see how to make a strong SOP, you will be able to see that as well. But to give you very briefly, dual intent basically means when you have a PR application in process and you want to submit a temporary residence visa application, that is when the dual intent will apply, not the other way around. Now, what that basically means is when you are submitting an application for temporary residence visa, you are telling the visa officer, I want to come to Canada temporarily, and my intention is to return back from Canada within the legal period of temporary stay. But I also have intentions of residing in Canada permanently if my permanent residence application is approved. So that's the dual intent, right? You want to stay in Canada permanently. Now you're making an application for temporary residence. That's the dual intent. And that is absolutely acceptable and acknowledged by IRCC. The only difference is when you apply under dual intent or when you express dual intent, you have to be able to prove and you have to be able to substantiate that you will indeed return back after the legal valid period of your temporary stay. That is what the officer is more worried about. I mean, what if your PR application is refused or rejected? Are you going to be one of those people who will illegally continue to stay in Canada, or you will overstay your period of valid stay? Now, that is the visa officer's concern. And therefore, when you express dual intention, you will need to mention and you will need to indicate that you will return back regardless of the fact of what happens to your PR application. And you will have to substantiate it with a lot of documentation, lot of evidence, compelling reasons that will basically make you return back to your country. That is how you will establish and substantiate dual intent. However, having an express entry profile would not be for dual intent. Okay, if you would have already submitted a PR application, that would be that would validate a dual intent expression. Having an express entry basically means, yes, I also want to at some point of time migrate to Canada, kind of a thing. Not necessarily now, not necessarily tomorrow, not necessarily next year. I've created an expression of, because creating an express entry profile is just an expression of interest, that you are expressing your interest. It is not you having submitted an application. There's a big difference in those two things. People tend to confuse them and start thinking that because I've created an express entry profile, I will, have to express dual intent. No. Expression of interest is what express entry profile is. Also, a lot of people tell you that having an express entry profile is going to put into jeopardy your study permit application. Also not true. What is the, I mean, if you've already created your express entry profile, what are you going to do now? Are you going to withdraw that profile? And by withdrawing the profile, what's going to happen? Visa officer cannot connect the two dots. Visa officer does not know that you have an express entry profile. You withdrew because regardless of what you do, you cannot delete an express entry profile that has already been created. You can't do it. You cannot delete it. You may withdraw it, okay, but you cannot delete it. So I mean, there are a lot of these agents in different countries will tell you, okay, withdraw your express entry profile. I mean, withdraw and do what? I mean, you think visa officer is stupid if he really wanted to figure out that this is what you're trying to do and that you're withdrawn because of this? They for some reason, people think that visa officers are blind or they are some sort of, kindergarten children who will not be able to put two and two together. Those guys are professionals. They are trained to identify these factors. As of right now, they are using artificial intelligence, and they have been using artificial intelligence for the last few years now. Not today, not tomorrow. They have been using, especially in India and China and some other countries as well, with all that artificial intelligence, which will highlight all these things that you're trying to do, which you think you're too smart in doing. Withdraw the profile, don't tell them, do this, do that, da, da, da. Rather, just come out clean, tell them what you want to do, make a good application, provide all the required evidence, and even then, if your application gets refused, even then, order GCMS notes, understand the reason why your application was refused. If you think those reasons that the visa officer had makes sense or they were logical, then address those reasons and reapply. If you think those were like silly reasons, as in visa officer simply mentions in the GCMS notes, I don't think this person will return back because the cost of education the cost of education in Canada does not make sense. The purpose of study is not clear. Just 2 lines or 3 lines, which are very, very generic. That is a great case for federal court judicial review. So consult a lawyer, have them review your application and review your documents, and then file for a JR or judicial review. That in most cases will get you a positive decision, because if the visa officer has not followed, and that is what is happening in a lot of cases, if they have not followed the law or the principle of law, where they are supposed to take into consideration everything that you have presented to them and you have made sense for everything, and yet they haven't done it, then you can challenge that decision. So there are so many factors around a study permit application which people don't understand or get it wrong. And therefore, don't get. So your case of dual intent, understand what it means and what it comes for. It's not for express entry profile. It is for a PR application. If you have an express entry profile, keep it there. Doesn't matter. If you want to mention it in your SFP, mention it. No problem. As long as you are able to substantiate that you will return back to your home country, you have compelling reasons, you are able to justify your temporary period of stay in Canada, you will find in most cases your application will be approved. Okay. All right. We have one of these. Mehak, thank you for the super chat. I have interned during my master's degree, 8 hours on weekends. Can I count it as full time? Yeah, if this was in outside Canada, you can absolutely count it as your full-time experience, because this is more than 30 hours a week. Yes, no problem there. Okay. Thabi Ahmed says, do the 5. I have no idea what that means. I didn't disclose previous visa rejection, uploaded new IMM, still no reply. Is it okay? And your thought in upfront medicals. I've already given my thoughts on the upfront medicals. It's your choice. Do it, don't do it. Wait for IRCC. It's entirely fine. I don't understand what you mean by do the 5. AOR October 2020 now. Let's talk about, if you have a previous visa refusal, and we've spoken about this plenty of times. If you have a previous visa refusal, please mention it, disclose it. You are risking not only your application to be refused, but also being given a 5-year misrepresentation ban, which will not only make you inadmissible to Canada, but also makes your family members, your accompanying spouse or unaccompanying spouse, also inadmissible to Canada. It also makes your children inadmissible to Canada for the next 5 years. Please if you have a previous visa refusal, and this previous visa refusal does not mean in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, in the last 15 years, the last 20, any time since you were born or you came into existence, if you have a visa refusal for any country, disclose it. Okay, period. Just disclose it. Whether you are submitting a visit visa application, whether you are submitting a work permit application, whether you are submitting a study permit application, whether you are studying a humanitarian compassionate application, whether you are submitting an express entry application, please disclose your past visa refusals for any country. That's the one statement which you must keep in your mind at all points of time. If you have not disclosed it, pronto, use the web form, let IRCC know. If you wish, you can upload IMM 5669 form. That's your Schedule A background declaration form. This is for PR applications only. If you want, you can upload that form and let them know and basically tick all the right boxes this time, give an explanation. If you haven't done it, if they've already made a decision, you are in trouble, my friend. Mind you, honest mistake in such matters will not work, because what you consider as honest mistake, IRCC does not consider as honest mistake. As long as you can read English or French, if you are a French speaker and the form was in French, so as long as you can read English and it states very clearly, have you previously been refused a visa? It doesn't matter for which country, you must say yes. You cannot say it's an honest mistake, I forgot. It's an honest mistake, I did not read. It's an honest mistake, my agent did it. It's an honest mistake because I told somebody else they did not do it. It's an honest mistake, I whispered into my dog's ears, but my dog said bow bow instead of saying meow meow, and therefore I said, it's not gonna work. All right. So please know it and please mention it. If you haven't, if you've forgotten for whatever reason, use the web form, upload and let IRCC know immediately. If you have done that and you haven't heard back, that's all right. As long as you have put it on record, it's fine. Don't freak, don't fret about it, because what's happened has already happened. If you already informed IRCC after that, then you've already done what you could have done. Now, if you are confused whether that transaction with any country's visa, did it mean refusal or it did not mean refusal? Did it mean you were refused entry into the country or not? Always say yes and explain whatever your confusion is. By saying no, you are making the assumptions and you could be wrong. But by saying yes, even if what you are making an assumption by saying yes, even if you're wrong, at least you're on the right side of things. Okay. So whether you made an H1B petition, whether your employer made a petition, somebody else made a petition, and petition not being considered as a visa, somebody applied for a work permit was not a visa for a different country, all those confusions that people have, if you have that confusion, always err on the right side of things. That is by answering the question as yes and then explaining, and then let IRCC decide what should be the right thing to do about it. Okay, that way you are not in the wrong and you have got yourself all covered. We did this already. Arun Gautam, thank you for the super chat, but unfortunately there is no question there, so we can't see that. Okay. Hari Kapoor, thank you for the super chat. Out of 401,000 applications, how many have been finalized, and in the rest of the applications, how much do you see FSW outline getting finalized? Hari Kapoor. Is that, sorry, Hari Kapoor? I'm not sorry. No, it's not Hari Kapoor. Sorry. It just says Hari 2142. IRCC does not disclose on a running basis how many applications have been processed at what period of time. So we do not know what the breakdown of these applications is, how many are FSWs, how many are this, how many are that. But they do disclose this data on a backdated kind of a thing. So you would have information until probably June, July, or at the end of second quarter, you would have that information. And at that point of time, it seemed like they were really far off the quota. They had achieved nearly 177,000 permanent residents by the time of mid of this year, which was still far off from achieving their target for this year, which was 401,000. So that's the data of July. We do not know how many have been processed from that time onwards. Now, as far as FSW outland applications are concerned, from the number that I have with me, there are roughly 48,000 applications in the inventory. Could be give or take few up and down again, because a lot of PNPs are getting processed as well. So we do not know if there was only under, because you see, even if it's a PNP application, it is still an FSW or a CEC. PNP by itself is not a separate category. Okay, even a PNP has to be either a federal skilled worker or it has to be a Canadian experience class, and the PNP will first be judged on the eligibility criteria as a FSW or a CEC or FSTC as well. So PNP by itself is not a separate category. On the last time that I checked, or I had the numbers, about 48,000 applications were roughly in process. And I'm talking about the express entry related. I'm not talking about the paper applications that IRCC receives. I'm not sure how many they are still holding back or how long they will take to hold back. My assumptions based on all the different things that I read was that they should clear out majority of the applications by the fourth quarter, which is this particular existing quarter. I see a lot of movement with the expired COPRs. I haven't seen a lot of movement as I anticipated with the FSWs and any of the outland applications, but in most cases they are all ready for visa, most of them. And so basically all IRCC will basically need to do is check their applications, quickly scroll through them, and if everything is good, they should be able to proceed. If the medicals are not required, if the criminality reassessment is not required, they should be able to proceed with their PPRs pretty soon. So the fingers are crossed. I'm hoping once the new immigration minister or the same immigration minister comes back, there would be or should be hopefully a better movement in a lot of things. And so for me, next date that I am keeping my eyes open is for 26th of October to figure out who it is. And then hopefully the weeks following that, I'm hoping to see movement in several aspects of the immigration processes that have been stuck up. Until such time, 26th October, that's what I'm hopeful for. Alex says, what are the chances for knock 0124, 1123 and 5131? I don't know because I don't keep the chances for individual knock codes here all the time. What you need to do is you need to check individual provincial websites. You need to check their criterias, their demand list, and probably check the back data's trends, what has been happening, and then take a look and see what is happening. There are some websites, I do not know the names on top of my head, but there are some websites where if you put in your knock, it would basically give you some provinces where they may be eligible, but there is no blanket data as such which will say, okay, this knock is eligible only in this province. By and large, for most of you out there who's wondering, there are only 4 or 5 provinces: Ontario, Nova Scotia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Prince Edward Islands. And I will say Prince Edward Islands anyways because they have never declared it otherwise. But Prince Edward Island is the least of likely possibilities. So the more likely possibilities are always going to be Ontario, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Nova Scotia. Alberta and Nova Scotia, well, they are more like the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody knows what's going on. How do you get picked up, not get picked up? But Nova Scotia hasn't been very active on the whole inviting front, so I will remove Nova Scotia also. You can never expect much from them. Again, it's a small province, small number of quotas, not much movement there. But the 3 main are Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Now, how do you go about figuring out? Ontario, go to their website, you will see who they've been inviting. If your knock is one of them, if your CRS is within the range, you can expect something. Second is Saskatchewan. Go back to their website, they have a list of almost 200 NOCs which they say are not eligible. Is it 200? I'm not sure if it is 200. Yeah, about. So they have a list of NOCs where they say they are not eligible. So if you're one of those NOCs, means you're not eligible. If you're not one of those NOCs, means you are eligible, your knock is eligible. Then check Saskatchewan's past draws that they have conducted because they always publish their knock code. If your knock code is in one of the past draws, then you know that you can expect something coming out from there. And third is Alberta. Alberta never ever publishes, never ever announces the criteria under which they are inviting people, under which they are identifying people. So that particular one, only go by what you will read up on the social media. Only if people who receive that invitation come out and talk to people and say, okay, I received the ITA, my knock is so and so, my CRS is so and so, then you know. But apart from that, it's only 3 provinces. So it's not like a lot of provinces. So just hop onto those provinces, check what the criteria is, check what the demand is, check what the background is, and you will know exactly where you need to go, where you don't need to go. Okay. Mehak says, I did upfront medical in April and I did receive their reply stating that they have passed the document to concerned officer, but there isn't any update in GC key account. Do you think it is updated? Well, I don't know. I don't know your account. I don't know your application. I don't know anything about your application. What would probably happen is at the time when your application will come up for evaluation again, whatever is the due date for this thing, and when they identify that you have already completed your medicals, at that point of time they will update it. So when you see the update, you will at least know that there has been some movement on your application. Until such time, don't have to freak out, don't have to worry. You did your medicals by yourself. They didn't ask you to do it. So just wait it out. I mean, it won't really make any difference, because when they will decide to process or finalize your application, they will then pick up the file and see if you have the medicals, you have the extensions, you have the validity, and they will go ahead and finalize your application. Arun Gautam says, I have a question. I've applied for a work visa, but I've got a visitor visa instead of work visa. I'm on CC pool. Will it affect my application? Should I go for work visa again? No. Visit visa is being processed for most people at this point of time. People who are applying for study visas, people who are applying for work permit extensions, they're all being given TRVs, which says visit V. Absolutely fine. That is all the TRV is for. The TRV is only for you to enter back into Canada. Your status in Canada is defined by the permit you hold in hand, which is either a work permit or study permit, and that is what defines what your status in Canada is. Your visa is fine. Technically, it's actually better. What was earlier happening is that the TRV that they were issuing was of a limited duration of time, which was related to your study permit or your work permit. So that expires, the TRV expires. Now, what they're issuing are the visit visas or the TRVs with the V, which people are thinking it's a visitor visa and not linking to their work permits or visit or your study permit, but that's not. So what's happening is now you have a much longer duration of TRV versus what you had earlier. So it's not a problem at all. You're absolutely fine. No issues whatsoever. Anonymous, does the knock code has any chance to get PLP from Alberta with LMIA job offer? My dear friend, please check Alberta website. If you find that information there, share with us, because we don't know. Alberta never announces what their knock codes of preference are, though Alberta does announce what the knock codes that they don't prefer are and what are unlikely to get an invitation. Asking for a friend. If you're asking for a friend, then you can please ask your friend to come and ask. That would be much better. I would get an extra view, and your friend would also be more familiar with how to ask a question. Anuran says, I have cleared my medical test yesterday. Now what is the next step? When can I expect to travel to Canada? Well, how can I tell you when you can travel to Canada? Wait for your visa. Check your visa status. If your visa is valid, if you have a visa, what status are you on? I don't know. If you have a visa, if it's valid, then by all means travel. If you don't have a visa, then wait to get the visa. If you have a visa which is not valid, then wait for the visa to get valid. Can we lodge? We spoke about lodge, right? Lodge, yes. Can we lodge PNP application to two different provinces at the same time? Well, you can lodge expressions of interest to as many provinces as you want. So what I'm trying to say is, people need to understand the difference between an application and creation of profile or creation of expression of interest. These are two different things. Application is when you have received an invitation, when you have completed all the information, you have submitted the documentation, you have paid the fees, and you have sent everything to the province. That is making an application. Just creating an expression of interest, just creating a profile is just creating that. It is not an application. So yes, you can apply to all the provinces. You can create expression of interests to all the provinces, all 13 provinces and territories if you can. If you're eligible, by all means go ahead and do it. However, the basic fundamental premise for any application with any province is that you intend to stay in that province, which by that means is that you obviously do not intend to stay in another province, because if you want to stay in this province and you also want to stay in this province, then you are contradicting yourself and your intentions are not clear, and therefore both the applications will be refused. So once you receive an invitation from one province, or you have submitted to one application to one province, then stick with that province. If you wish to go to another province, then you please withdraw your application and go with the other province. So in most cases, I don't see that happening. It will be very, very rare occurrence if it does, that you actually get invited by more than one province and you actually make a physical application to more than one province. You would be a lucky bloke if you do that, to be very honest. But I would say just have an expression of interest for any province. Make profiles if you have to for whichever province you need to make profiles for. But once you get the invitation, then stick to the one province, and you would be fine. So this is some same thing like with the life, right? But yeah, I don't want to go there. Okay, last few questions and then we move on. Rakesh Goli, there is no question. Sorry. Okay. I'm going back to the questions which we earlier missed out. Plenty of them there. All right. Karthik, hope you remember me. I'm sorry. Passport is in IRCC for the file for which applied, withdraw, got visa, final decision changed to in progress from approved to second application, got visa approval after 6 hours. I am sorry. You will have to forgive me, but I have no clue what we are talking about here. Passport is in IRCC for the file for which applied, withdrew, got visa, final decision changed, approve, second application, visa approval. I'm really sorry. I mean, I don't understand that one at all. I'm sorry. Drop us if we have spoken before, if we have consulted before, and that is what you're referring to. Drop me a detailed email of what we are talking about. And probably I'll take a look at it and sort of give you a bit of an indication. But at this question, I'm not able to understand it at all. Karthik says my CWP, are you talking about closed work permit? Under AIPP was submitted, PR was applied. There is no progress in the work permit. I got medical request for PR. Does it mean they would only process PR and not work permit? Well, both the applications are separate. If you got medical request for PR, then by all means, go ahead with the PR. That the work permits are not being processed for a very long time. I haven't seen work permits being processed in a good year's time, right? Almost 8, 10, 12 months is what I've seen applications taking. So yours could probably be one of them. But yeah, in your case, whatever comes first, just take it and move along with it, right? Don't have to worry about it. Is it mandatory to have a Canadian degree license to get nomination from Ontario under NOC 1111 as it is a regulated profession? I don't think 1111 is a regulated profession. I know, definitely not. And no, you don't need a certification or degree from Canada to get nomination from Ontario under HCB. Nope, there is no requirement. Okay, Ghansham says, can you please suggest further if other request in process, medical past expired, criminality past, bio info sharing completed? No, nothing required from your side. If at all IRCC needs anything, then they will probably ask you for it. But I mean, if nothing is required, then nothing is required. Then don't fret about it. You don't need to do anything about it. Just relax, just chill. Jatinder says, I have a GCKey account, but I want to apply in PNP program, BCPNP or Saskatchewan. Could you please tell me how can I apply for PNP without express entry? Is it possible? Well, simply don't enter your express entry information in that province and you will be able to apply without the express entry, because depending on which province and depending on which program, if you do not sort of apply under their express entry stream, they have no problem with it. They will continue with your application as long as you're eligible, as long as you qualified, as long as you provided all the documents. They will give you the nomination and then they will ask you to proceed with your PR application, without express entry. And that's absolutely fine. No problem with it. Okay, Mazhar says, please reply. If I see a question, trust me, I would. I have no problems in replying to any question that I see. Dinesh says, can I use the same bank letter obtained 3 months back for proof of funds for Ontario for PR? I can support with fresh bank statement and no reduction in balance claim. Okay, there is no date specified by IRCC in terms of the documentation submitted for proof of funds. However, I usually recommend that it is within the 30 days of you submitting. So if you're going to be submitting on the 23rd of October 2021, your bank letter should not be earlier than 24th September 2021. And that is only basically to keep everything in context, because Your letter with the bank would probably give more information. There could have been any changes. You may have taken some loans, some liabilities, which may not be indicated on your statement because you haven't started paying anything yet. But your bank letter would have mentioned that there are no liabilities, but within the 3 months period, you may have taken some liabilities on which the letter is not stating. So I would always recommend keep the letter within 30 days of submitting your application, and you would be good. Millen says, as per GCMS note, security not started, rest is all cleared. What to expect in this case? What to expect is for security to start whenever it starts, and then from there on, application to get finalized and you to get PPR as and when that happens. That is what you would expect. Yes. Okay. Roga says, I'm a Saskatchewan nominee, submitted my EE application post EEITA 2021. Do you think I will get good news this year? Well, I am hoping you get good news this year, but to be very honest, practically speaking, you are July 2021, which is what, only 3 months back, 4 months, 3 months back. There are people waiting from 2020, 2019. What do you think are the chances? So yeah, I mean, fingers crossed, but it's wishful thinking to expect 6 months processing when there are people waiting for 2 years. Hardeep says, applied in 2020, waiting for PPR, SINP, also provides support letter for applying family work permit. Should I apply now as it is going to be a long wait? Well, there is no harm except for the fact that you will be spending about $155 for each person for the work permit. So it will be you and your spouse probably for the work permit. Your children get a visa. I mean, again, it all depends which part of the world are you in. What is your processing office? If you are in a part of the world which is processing it fast, you could get a faster one. September 2020, it's a judgment call. It all depends upon you as to what you wish to do. Order GCMS notes if you have not already done it. That will give an indication of how much the processing is done. If you can choose to wait, then wait. If you sort of want to apply, it's a judgment call, as I said, because it's not like work permit applications are being processed anytime soon or they are happening fast. So yeah, no problem with that. Ram Kumar says, I've applied for spouse open work permit, but it's still in progress for nearly 4 months. Hello, 4 months? It's 1 year right now. I mean, people have been waiting for 1 year for spouse open work permit at this point of time. Can I apply for visitor visa in new portal? Yes, you can absolutely apply for a visitor visa. There is no problem. It does not create any conflict. A lot of people are doing it, to be very honest. No problem with that. Abhijit, thank you for the super chat. Landed March 2019. PNP, PPR, valid 2024. Traveled. No job to keep 2 years, 2022. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Question 1, medicals for travel with no job. You are a permanent resident. Is that right? You have PNP, PR. Yeah, you are a permanent resident. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. Nobody is going to stop you. Just walk right in. It's your constitutional right, my friend. Nobody will ask you for any document. Nobody will ask you for anything. Yes, if you are not fully vaccinated, you will need to be in quarantine for 14 days. Apart from that, no. You walk in from the land border from USA, you fly into Canada. Nobody's going to be asking you for any jobs. Nobody's going to ask you for nothing. You are a permanent resident, my friend. You are the golden child. Don't worry. You're absolutely free to come to Canada at any point of time, as long as you have a valid status. My family has submitted their complete visit visa file 27 September. They are waiting for PPR. I'm on student visa. Can you guide me when they can expect? Well, visit visa portal processing is taking anywhere from 5 days to 45 days at this point of time. Anywhere between that period is how often I'm seeing the decisions. But yeah, it should be fine. Don't worry about it. 5-year-old TB history already appeared for additional medicals as requested by an individual. How much impact will past history have on PR file if you know from your past experience? Well, if you've already completed your medicals, if your medicals have passed, you will be fine. Your application will be processed if your condition is of no concern, and you are probably going to get a medical surveillance request along with your passport request. So once you come to Canada, you will have to appear to at the nearest medical center indicated. You will have to undergo some basic checks. They will keep you under surveillance in terms of your medical condition for some time. until it has been identified that your condition is dormant and is of no threat of any kind, then you'll be fine. It's not a problem at all. It happens to a lot of people. It's not a problem at all. Vishwanath Paswan says, I'm self-employed, HR individual, tax returns, client reference letter, withholding. Is it enough? Tax returns, client reference letters, bank statements, withholding, tax return. Yeah, it should be enough. Oh, sorry, no, not enough. Proof of ownership, that's missing. Invoices you have provided, bank statements you have provided, tax statements. Yeah, that's just about it. But yeah, proof of ownership, if you can, that should be good. I got an email. IRCC will begin processing my TR to PR. However, I haven't received any document request for PCC. Should I submit it via web form? Wait. So you've got the AOR, which is good, which is great. Wait to receive the PCC request, because then you will be able to upload the PCC through your account, which you ideally should have linked to your GC key. And that is always a good idea versus uploading it upfront, because yeah, it would take that much more time for them to connect it to your application. Women Korean, sorry, no question there. Upfront medical, good idea, bad idea, entirely up to you. I don't see any need to do it upfront. AOR Jan 2021, when can I expect some reply? Well, expect some reply once you see others getting a reply. As of right now, people from 2019 are not getting a reply. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, last question. Rupali Patel, applying student visa in the November 1st week for Jan 22 intake, planning to get married in December. Any points I should take care while applying spousal visa after I reach Canada? Well, once you reach Canada and you're applying for a spousal visa, make sure you provide ample proof to show that yours is a genuine marital relationship. So proof of relationship is going to be extremely important. Proof of finances for your spouse is going to be extremely important. Make sure you provide these two in addition to all the other documents that you provide. Since you are going to be studying in Canada, also add a letter of good standing that you can receive from your college. That will basically state that you are currently studying in the college and that you are a student in good standing, and that would be great. If you are able to provide all of this, then you are absolutely fine. You would be good. Right. This brings us to the end of today's session. Follow me on Instagram, please, at Kubeir Kunal. That's the Instagram channel. We do keep posting a lot of things. Sometimes funny, sometimes serious, but yeah, it's a good thing. If you wish to make an appointment, then that is the link that's here. Yeah, that's the link. Make an appointment. We can discuss your application one-on-one in detail to understand what you need to do, what you don't need to do. And please definitely do subscribe to the channel. And I want to see some more thumbs up there. And as I said, the thumbs up are not for me. It doesn't, do much for me. But what it does is it does get out the video to a lot of other people out there who may have similar questions, who may need this kind of understanding, this kind of help. And it basically helps them get some more information, some more details, and probably you're nudging them in the right corner of things. That's it from me. Thank you so much. You guys have been great, and I shall see you next time. Take care.